What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to give you a good overview of what happened with Lucid, go over some of the data points, what's been floating around, and something that I do feel that Lucid needs to do at this stage in the game to stop the excessive manipulation. So I'm going to go over all of that. Make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that, let's get right to it. So today was one very volatile ride. The market just closed roughly around 10 minutes ago. It did close 5.23% in the red, $6.74 was the low, and 709 was the high. So a lot of volatility, but yet it did have a lot of good volume. So 44 million shares being traded, 49 is the average. But when it comes down to it, I want to go over, like I said, a lot of the data points, but I do feel for the longest time, there has been a sufficient amount of manipulation happening with Lucid. More specifically, even a lot of articles are kind of referring to the fact that there's a lot of short selling that's been happening, kind of too much so, because once again, I'll give you guys a good overview of what shorts did today. So short score is currently 74, utilization is 82.95%, and I'm going to go over some additional data, but $1.28 billion worth of shorts are in Lucid. So that's pretty significant, but still, shorts today did right now increase 4.75 million shares, 22.15% of the free floats being shorted, 181.13 million shares overall are being shorted. But when it comes down to Lucid, there's been many cases of manipulation. Even this time yesterday, as you can see, cost to borrow minimum right now was negative 0.19% this time yesterday, meaning that there is a broker out there physically paying people to short Lucid. And like I said, this isn't just the first time that this has happened. This is a little bit more of a common reoccurrence. And as well, looking at the failure to delivers currently, based on it looks like what came out on the 7th or the 14th, July 14th, there was $9.9 million worth of shorts. And so of course this is naked shorting. So if you kind of couple the 9.9 million with the potential, like I showed, 1.23 billion if I remember correctly, that is a hell of a lot of activity when it comes down to shorting. And even more so if you're looking on, for instance, the dark pool. So these are all the transactions that have occurred over $100,000 on the dark pool, and this is definitely one of the more popular exchanges for kind of illegal activity to occur. So these are all the transactions that did occur today. These are all the ones from yesterday. So it is definitely a very popular exchange. And when it comes down to it, it kind of is just suppressing Lucid. So in case you guys do not know, what typically does happen is a short can essentially add selling pressure, so they can short the stock on the secondary market, and then they could potentially cover their position on the dark pool. Dark pool transactions do not move the stock price whatsoever. It's kind of done behind the scenes. And the whole purpose of the dark pool was to avoid a lot of volatility, because a lot of this is more so for institutions, so they don't want multi-million-dollar transactions causing massive fluctuations within the stock market. So they made this dark pool for that. So in reality, I do feel that one thing that they need to do to kind of solve this is potentially hire a third party to monitor that. And one common one that's been really hired among a lot of companies as of late was Share Intel. So I do feel that this is something that can stop the abusive short selling, and as well, behind the scenes, there's the good old PIF, the big brother behind Lucid, that can really help push Share Intel in the right direction and stop a lot of this actual naked shorting and just manipulation. Because the fact is, if you look and compare Lucid to any other EV, this is just significantly higher. There's a lot of EVs that have not produced a single vehicle, but yet they have a lower short interest than Lucid. How does that make sense? Of course, Lucid has their fair share of risks. I'm not here to say otherwise, because they've kind of lacked on the delivery component. And of course, I brought this up in the past, last couple of days, or last couple of videos, I guess, about 1,404 vehicles being delivered in Q2. That's clearly a little bit lower and not necessarily the best, but still, beside the point, they are still producing and delivering vehicles. There's a ton of companies out there not doing anything. So once again, I do feel that this is something that could really and does need to stop ASAP, especially with their upcoming Q2 earnings. I think a lot of shorts have been very active because of this news about the delivery and production numbers. So I think they're anticipating that the Q2 numbers are going to be equally as bad, meaning the earnings per share, because when it comes down to, I have covered this a couple times in the past, but when it comes down to earnings, there's earnings per share, revenue, and future guidance. Those are basically the big three things that people watch for. Earnings per share is anticipated to be negative 34 cents. So that is based on 8 analysts. And revenue as of right now is anticipated to be $184.84 million. And that is based on 7 analysts. So of course, not necessarily the best, but of course, I think it is moving in the right direction. This is where you have 2 different mentalities and 2 different types of investors that are investing Lucid, short-term and long-term ones. But again, that's kind of beside the point. So I just wanted to bring this up as far as the manipulation that's happening behind the scenes, and maybe something that Lucid can do to try to resolve that. So hopefully, if we still do have time, because their earnings is on the 7th, so maybe this could be one question that could be posed to management from retail, is the fact that can they do anything to stop the abusive short selling, as what even said right there. So let me know you guys' thoughts on that in the comments below. But when it comes down to today, there was a lot of volatility because of this. So the actual US credit rating did get cut and downgraded to AA+. So not necessarily the best by any means. So this is kind of what caused a lot of volatility. And as well, it kind of mirrored that throughout the rest of the data points, one of which is this. So there was a grand total of $24 million in puts being purchased today versus 2.71 million in calls. So overall, all the options activity today was 83% negative, so bearish. So once again, this is just more of a sentiment, though it does not necessarily move the stock price, but clearly based on this, people are betting that it is going to continue to trend down. And looking right here, if you are optimistic though, so these are all the call options, strike prices, expiry dates, it is anticipated by this Friday to go between the 650 to 750 range. But like I said, this is just a sentiment. A lot of activity on the dark pool, like I brought up. These are all the ones from the secondary market, so kind of fits on one screen a little bit. And based on the bid and the ask, there was just a lot of selling, because like I said, this news wasn't necessarily the best. But when it comes down to it, there is still a lot of big opportunities for good positive things to come out this week, or potentially early next week. And this is the latest round of 13Fs. So when it comes to BlackRock and Vanguard, they're going to be disclosing their positions, I believe, early next week, kind of matching with Lucid's earnings. But these are the latest ones that have come down the pipeline. So kind of evenly mixed, but still there is a lot of institutions that have increased their position pretty significantly. And all of these transactions did occur during Q2. So once again, be aware of that. But moving on from this though, based on the momentum indicator shows number of retail investors were getting out today. Stochastic is currently at 55, no defined trend as of right now. So most likely with everything, it kind of might get pulled down a little bit more. But as far as how low potentially, with it being at $6.89, it is currently between this S2 and the S1. So $6.83 is that next big support, and then $6.99 is that next big resistance. And more on a kind of a zoomed out viewpoint on this. So with it being, like I said there, $6.85 is a very, very strong support, and $7.53 is that next big resistance. And all of this is available on TradingView. Highly recommend you guys just looking at the fib levels just to show you kind of where the support and resistance points are. And then of course you can kind of adjust your buying or selling accordingly. So let me know your guys' viewpoints on all of this in the comments below. So that's pretty much a good summary of everything that has happened today. So there has been no real or new analyst ratings, nothing like that. The last being from Bank of America on July the 17th. And on a side note, if you are looking for a lot of good compiled information such as this, so analyst ratings, forecasts, everything under the sun, take a look at Interactive Brokers, link in the description below or also the comments. It's completely free to have all of this. So with that said, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And let me know your thoughts on Share Intel, or it doesn't necessarily have to be Share Intel. I think they're just the more popular one, but do you think that it's advantageous for Lucid to potentially hire a third party to monitor, for instance, the trading activity to eliminate some of the naked shorting that's been happening, or just abusive shorting that's overall looming over Lucid? Because like I mentioned, with it being 22.15%, that is just crazy high. Rivian, I think, for instance, is 12-13%. Tesla is around 2%. Mullen, which I know a lot of people don't necessarily like Mullen, but I think that one's at around 18-19%. And a lot of those companies have not even produced any vehicles. Faraday Future as well, I believe that one is at 16%. So 22.15 just does not make sense. But don't forget to hit that thumbs up, like I said. And one final thing I just wanted to share with you, take advantage of this promo. This is literally the best deal that you can get. Sign up for a free account, and then also with this account you get free level 2 trading and $0 commission. But if you throw $100 at it, you get 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000 plus a $50 cash reward. So this hands down is the best thing that you can do. Link in the description below and also the comments. With that said, I appreciate you guys watching, and let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.